You're watching Drive the Lightning, the positively charged EV channel.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey,
Yeah,
And
we're
today we're featuring Jerry and Helen.
Jerry and Helen
Yes,
Molnar,
our
they're
California
California
correspondents.
correspondents,
Our
are
unpaid
unpaid.
California
That's
correspondents.
key. Unpaid California correspondents. So Jerry and Helen are brand ambassadors for Aptera. They've been on the ride for a very long time. I don't think it's a secret to anybody that you've invested. That's okay to say that, I
yes,
hope.
that's fine.
They're investors in Aptera. They believe in the project. But recently, Helen got to see some things that people haven't seen yet.
Yes.
And we thought, how can we exploit our friendship with these
Yes.
people and get access
No, they
to what
offer.
Helen saw and talk about it with our audience? So that's what we would like to do today, Helen, is find out what you saw and what you can explain to our audience that they don't know about yet. You got to visit the Aptera factory in person just recently, just less than a week ago. And you saw some things that we haven't seen before. For example, and we'd like to talk about this a little bit, you got to see the air handler, like basically the HVAC unit. No one else that I know of has seen this. And you got to hold it, touch it, see how it's going to be put into the vehicle. Tell us your impression, what you thought of what you saw, and how it's going to go together.
Okay, well, Chris McCammon is just amazing. He did a great job explaining things because I'm not very technical astute, and so he just kind of gave me the facts, said it in just plain layman English. It was so good, and it was amazing how that thing fit. It just fit in there so tight and perfect, and it was so little and light. I was thinking about my HVAC at home, and it is just so much littler. Of course, it doesn't air and heat such a small space. So that makes a huge difference. But it was light. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you got to pick it up and hold it, and you also got to see, like, he sort of inserted it into where it would go in the molded pieces. Because Aptera, of course, is all carbon fiber molded, and they molded it in such a way that it looked to me, Helen, correct me if I'm wrong, that this thing already had like the connections. It's going to go
Yeah.
here, boom, almost like
Yeah.
it snaps in place. I'm sure they have some bolts, but it felt like it just fit.
Yeah, it does. It just kind of like clips in there and
Hmm.
it's ready to go. All the holes matched up perfectly because I gave it the big test. I looked everywhere and it was perfect. But when Chris was carrying it over, I thought, oh my gosh, how he's so strong because he is. But it was much lighter than I ever dreamed it was going to be. Yeah, it's great.
And
Yeah.
Jerry, what was your impression when she came back and showed you what she had seen about the way the air handler fit into place? What did that, because you've got a bit of an engineering kind of mind, what did that mean to you?
I thought it was very small, and when she remarked how light it was, you could see how easily she picked it up and held it. Um, that goes along with their ethos of such a light car, and just like she said, it just you could see it just fit in perfectly in a spot and just ready to bolt it in.
Yeah.
So
It's great.
That's what blew my mind because they molded these big parts at CPC in Italy, but they molded in like every nook and cranny where every wire is gonna channel through, where every component is gonna bolt up in its place, where the air is gonna channel from the air handler, and even thought all the way through, Sarah and Helen, you proved this to us, where the cabin air filter is gonna go and how we're gonna go about replacing it.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great question.
Yeah, walk us through that. Walk us through what you learned about the cabin air filter replacement. How do you see that happening?
Well, because I was a little worried about that, because as you know, when you get them replaced through a dealer, it's pretty expensive.
Mhm.
So I want to be able to do that myself, right to
Yeah.
repair. And so it was just going to be as easy as popping the trunk open and sliding in and sliding it out, which is great.
Now, when you say the trunk, of course,
I'm
you,
sorry, the
you mean the hood,
front
hood.
hood.
The hood,
yeah,
yes, I'm
The
sorry.
bonnet.
the bonnet in England, and we call it the frunk if there's a
Yes,
state. But it was
no,
interesting when you said, oh, you said, oh, you can open that, and he said, yeah, it's no big deal to open it, but you won't need to do it very often,
right.
which
Because
is
wasn't it
interesting.
gonna be at first, it wasn't going to open at first.
That's what I thought.
And he said in the video that it was going to open very easily.
So that's
Yeah,
nice.
that was
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
that's neat.
So that was a big thing you saw. Other than that, the solar, the glass. I understand that's the completed glass. I don't know how to describe it, Helen, but the panel that's going to go on the hood that has solar panels encased in it. You got a chance to see, and I saw you got a chance to touch that. What was your impression of that, the final product on that?
Stunning. And I'm not just saying that, it really was stunning. It was like a work of art. It was so slick and smooth and shiny. I could see myself in it. It was gorgeous, and you could tell
We
that there
could
was
see you in it too.
you could.
Yeah.
There wasn't any gaps, where the two solars, touched together. It was immaculate, just so well thought out. Just like the
Anything?
whole,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, when you touch it, it's all smooth on top, like there's no texture. You know how sometimes it's hard to
No.
tell? Just smooth.
smooth as glass, smooth as
Whoop.
glass.
The air's just gonna flow right past that. That's
Uh-huh,
awesome.
for sure.
Cool.
Mhm.
It looked surprisingly thin. I'm assuming it's going to be molded to a plastic piece, and that would be the hood. Was that your takeaway? We're not going to be lifting the glass itself, are we?
I don't think so. I don't know. I have no idea. Because you're right. It was thin and a little flexible.
Hmm.
especially-
Jerry, what's your impression of how that's going to sync with the rest of the body part? We're not going to be lifting just the glass, I wouldn't imagine.
No, I think it can be attached to that hood frame.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
On the
that's like a hollow hood
Yeah.
frame.
Oh, bing,
It's going to
bing,
be
bing.
attached to that. It was pretty amazing that something so light and smooth could be, remember they said it could withstand 90-mile-per-hour hail hits
Wow.
without harm. So, I mean, that's some tough glass.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's incredible.
that is.
Amazing. It's going to be a game changer. I mean, once that automotive solar hits, people are going to want it. And it
Oh,
might
yeah.
be
Sure.
a whole different industry.
I think
agree.
the solar itself is going to be impressive, just aside from the whole car.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing those super smooth glass panels and seeing the blue solar cells underneath and knowing that's giving you, 40 miles a day of solar.
I want one for my wall. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that'd be a great
That'd be cool.
decoration on your wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather them use it to build cars, but that's just me being jealous,
You didn't take
Maybe
one,
I
did
could
you?
have an extra
Helen?
one
Be
laying
honest.
around.
Now's the time to confess.
Yeah, if they got a cracked one, someone drop, I'll take that one.
I'm so proud.
There you go.
Yeah. So there's other things you saw that we certainly haven't seen, and that was and I know it was a prototype, but the aluminum frame that they had put the battery modules in. They showed you putting what was your takeaway, Helen, when you saw that piece of aluminum and you understood that the battery modules would fit in those different slots? That is the entire frame for the Aptera. Did you realize that when you were seeing it, that you were one of the first people ever to see the Aptera frame?
No,
It's a big deal.
my eyes were glossed over. I mean, everything was so cool. It's like, it's hard to take it all in. It's a lot.
What'd you learn about the batteries themselves? Because it seemed like when Chris was giving you the tour, he was showing you, they look like, to us, they look like the AA batteries or something, right? Was that just a camera?
It seems a little thinner to me and taller. Maybe taller made it look thinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But you did see the battery pack that was tested through the vibrating machine or whatever they call it at a lab, which meant it could go 100,000 miles with how much damage in 100,000 miles can we expect?
I saw no damage. None. And did you see those little silver, little wiggly things? I don't know what those were cool too.
The current collectors.
Oh, they
Current
were.
collectors, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So those, how do you understand how those go together, Helen? With the
I
current
don't
collectors?
know. Oh, Chad, you give me so much more credit than I.
No, you're
I'm more worried about how things look.
you're just
like-
being
Yeah,
secret.
they're like little battery accessories. That's what they're like. They're like.
I love
jewelry
how
for
Helen
the battery
describes
pack.
everything. Oh, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. And the rest was like, how does it work? How does it work? It was just gorgeous. It was beautiful.
Helen, you're not responsible for knowing how it works.
That's right. That's their job. You got to see what most people have. We take some of these things for granted, Helen, but how many people have actually seen the body in carbon, the Bink, in person and touched it? You're one of the very few people in the U.S. that have actually seen that and touched it. Some of us have seen videos. Maybe a lot of people have seen videos of it, but you actually touched. So please give us what it was like. What did it feel like? What was your impression when you lifted up the inside of the door that was pressed in carbon fiber. Give us your take of what the body in carbon was like in person.
Okay, so it was much smaller than I thought it was going to be because the nose wasn't complete. So that was interesting for me. And there was no windshield, there was no windows, the doors weren't there. So it kind of reminded me of like a little cradle of innovation. Mhm.
Cradle
Yeah.
of innovation. Okay.
Nice, I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
my little cradle, the little baby Bink.
Was it rough to the touch, smooth to the touch? What was the
Kind of in between. It was a little rough. Wasn't yeah, it was that kind of that greenish color, you
Mm,
know.
mhm.
And Chris was showing me um where a screen might fit in, and I wish I had gotten that video. He's so interesting. He's amazing.
You
Yeah.
mean
So
where the center screen, the infotainment? You mean that screen where that would go?
it was like the side screen,
Oh,
the
okay.
screens
For the side mirrors.
for the side mirrors.
Oh,
Yeah.
for the side
Okay.
mirrors. Okay.
Okay.
And was that similar to what you found with the air handler, where there was just like a perfect place for it to fit,
Yes.
already
Yeah.
predetermined?
Yeah. And the audio, there's a predetermined place for that. It's so thought out.
How incredible that thing comes out of a press and they have thought of everything in advance. So when it comes time to assemble these, everything just kind of goes in place. How
Well,
cool
I
is
think
that?
it's really amazing. I think it's amazing, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I think it's amazing that just regular schmoes like you and I are able to invest in this because we're investing in the future. And how many times, at least in Jerry and my lifetime, this will probably be the only time that we're going to be able to make a difference, in the
Oh,
world.
yeah,
So that's exciting. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. Up until June 30th, and
Yeah.
then we don't know what's going to happen. Eventually, with the IPO, when that comes, then everybody will be able to invest again. But
Everybody
you,
will be able to.
yeah, but you were able to get in before that, get in early because of what you did and help them to get to where they're at now, working on these production intent vehicles. None of that happens without people like you that are willing to study it, learn it, find out what it's about, and then, quite frankly, risk the money you've earned through your lives and careers. So you're definitely part of moving this thing forward in a big way. What a cool legacy
Yeah,
for
I mean,
you
it's
too.
really not a risk because even, I believe it will not fail, but even if it did, we're moving solar mobility and making that happen for future generations. So even if this is the first step in that, we got to help with that. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's a great view.
Yeah.
So Jerry, what's your takeaway? Now you saw everything she brought back. What did you take away from Helen's visit in person to the factory?
Uh, I thought the door was pretty impressive. You could see how light that was. She was guessing it was about 8 pounds. I think even though it's only the inside of the door, I mean, think of a regular car door. I mean, you can
Oh
tell when you
yeah.
climb it. I mean, just think of that door being that light, like 8 pounds. And the rest of it had to be the same way. I mean, that just
Hmm.
the fact that how the air handler just fit in that spot so perfectly
Mhm.
and how all the parts are going to be like that, that's going to be just a game changer as putting together a car like that.
So right now, as we're sitting here talking, the four of us, they're putting together the production intent builds, which will be crash tested. They'll be used for validation of everything from suspension, electronics, to battery use, everything as they tear them up and down the road. What's the two of you's best ideas about when the first accelerator customer, one of the pre-order people that invested enough to be on the accelerator program like yourselves, when do you think the first one will take their keys?
Jerry?
I'm thinking early summer next year.
Oh, early summer. Helen, what about you? Are you in the same
I think
boat?
a little earlier. I think spring.
Whoa, spring. Okay.
I like it.
Mhm.
So we're thinking 2024 will be the remainder of this year will be about validation and
Testing.
perfecting the production process.
Yep.
And then ramping up from there 2025. That's what we're thinking.
Okay, then when in 2025 do you think it's going to happen?
I don't know. When I said what we're thinking, I mean all four of us. I'm trying to get us all on the same page. Is that what the four of us are thinking?
I
Yeah.
think you're right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate to guess anymore.
January 4th.
I don't think that's Sarah's.
We're back, just saying.
Be
So,
21st.
so Helen says spring, Jerry says summer. And don't leave me a whole bunch of room to try to hedge my bets in the middle there.
Well, Chris did say in the investor webinar that they were very dependent on their suppliers for the PIs because you remember that the suppliers for the PIs some of them were going to be different than for the full scale because it's very different to have a supplier supply you 20 parts of something as opposed to 2,000. So
Right.
I think they're going to be beholden to those suppliers on how quickly it happens.
Yeah, I agree. And one of those pieces they were talking about with that specifically is that aluminum frame that Helen saw. So where they got that aluminum frame that Helen saw, that would be an interesting. Is that the one that's going to do all 16 or whatever for the PI builds, or is that something that they measured and welded in-house? I don't know. But that was so interesting to see. So
gotta
that's
get-
one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Helen.
You've got to get Chris on your show.
Chris, who?
Chris McCammon.
Never heard of him. Never heard of him. Is that little redheaded kid that works at Aptera?
Chris
Yeah.
is always welcome here.
Yeah.
He knows that.
Yeah,
But
of course.
he has been a little busy recently, so
Well, we
it
haven't
was
pestered
really
him.
nice of him to
We figured,
catch up with you and
yeah,
show you around. We're so grateful.
we figured you would get him in the back and you'd say, "Now, Chris, look, I'm old enough to be your mom, and it's time you call Chad and Sarah." We kind of hoped you would do that. Helen, did you do that? Did you put the
I
screws
did.
to him a little?
Yes, I did.
Good,
Definitely.
good.
Thank you. Excellent
Yeah,
job.
I'll say this, and I'll say this in front of our audience too. He did text me and say, Chad, there might be some things Helen saw that we're not ready to be public. And I
Yes.
thought, ooh, I can't wait to ask Helen of what she saw that we're not ready to be public.
Helen's not going to betray anything.
No, I'm a good Girl Scout.
I
not
saw
gonna do
some
it.
pictures of some electrical schematics that Chris said,
Yes.
was top secret.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah, I
we'll
just
show
think-
those right now. No,
we will
never.
not show those.
No, no one gets to see that. Okay.
No, I
we wanna
wanted
keep
to.
working with Aptera and getting inside scoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a big board, and it had wires all over, bundled wires going this direction, that direction. So I imagine that was maybe the size of the car, and they were testing out how much wiring they needed and where it would
Oh,
go.
okay. Mhm.
Very thoughtful. Mhm.
Probably, yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That is cool.
So when you saw the factory, how did you feel about it leaving? Did you say, okay, I can visualize how these cars will be assembled in this factory? Did you go away feeling that, Helen?
No, because I couldn't go back into the factory like we have in the past because there were a lot of important things that were going on that couldn't be seen. So I didn't have full run of the place, kind of thing. So I
Okay.
had to control myself. Yeah.
Mm.
I tried not to even look back there. I'm
You-
definitely a rule follower.
Me
you-
too, Helen.
You
I
could
love
just
rules.
say you don't
Make
want
me
to
feel
tell this,
safe.
Helen. I'm not buying this. So you could just tell us I don't want to tell you, and we'll accept that. Just be direct.
Didn't even know what was back there. Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink. I could just see her. Yeah.
Yeah. I did get to meet Will, another new person that's in marketing who was
Okay.
really sweet.
Mm.
When he was leaving, he was carrying his little surfboard under his arm and getting into his little two-seater car. It was very cute.
So California.
I thought too. But if he only needs an Aptera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll probably get his at when will he get his? Because you got the accelerators, that's the first 2,000, then you got some going to the UAE, right? Another, what is it, 43?
Paradigm people.
Yeah, and then the Paradigm people, they got to get theirs, and all those other, yeah. It'd be interesting, you could work at Aptera and not have an Aptera for 5 years.
It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're gonna have a weekend party. Everybody make your own Aptera.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a
I would like to be
Build-A-Bear,
invited. I would like to
Build
go
a
to
bear,
that
build your
party.
own Aptera.
like a craft party.
Like a Build-A-Bear.
Show up at Saturday, bring your pliers.
Mhm.
Everybody gets to build their own Aptera just from whatever scrap parts are laying around. You can have all kinds of Frankenstein Aptera
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, take apart the prototype and grab that, chair.
All right,
Great.
give us some final words of wisdom from your takeaway, Helen, and then we'll do the same with Jerry. Because every time you see something, by the way, just quick, when GM is building the Blazer, they didn't invite press to go in and watch them every step of the way and question them about every material they choose, every supplier. Like Aptera, they open the door and they let us ask questions, some stupid questions I've asked and others, because they just let us be a part of this process. And with Aptera, you get to really see behind the curtain. It's amazing that you just get to go, Helen, got to go to the factory and just get a tour from somebody who's been with the company forever. And okay, I've talked enough. Give us your final impression after leaving. How did you feel about the company and where it's headed?
I'm in love with the company. I'm definitely pro Aptera. I believe they're going to succeed, and I think the investors are going to do very well. That's just my opinion. And I think everybody that works there is going to benefit from that. And I don't know. I'm pro Aptera. Go.
I love it. What about
Yeah.
you, Jerry? Your wife just got back. She filled you in on everything she saw. I know you've been to the factory yourself a couple times, at least twice that I know of. Any more than the two that I know of, Jerry?
No, just the 2 times.
You've been there twice, but the
Yeah,
last
I got
one
to
was
ride in Gamma last
right.
summer,
Oh wow.
and that was extremely impressive, especially when you consider that was just a rough prototype and not a PI. And that, from what I could see, the PI is going to be amazing.
Wow.
I think they're in many ways outdoing what Tesla does.
Mm.
I do love that they listen to all of our feedback. They may not do that because we don't know, the reasons why they make the decisions, or they're very thought out. But I do love that they're willing to listen to feedback.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like you said, GM's not going to do that.
Mhm.
GM's going to kick me to the curb. You want gray seat belts? Get out of here.
And the fact that they're so nimble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't like this part, let's change it out for something else. And then further on down the line, 6 months later, like Chris said in the webinar, we may change vendors. If a vendor comes to us and said we can do that part cheaper, let's change it out.
Right.
You said GM's not going to do that.
So
All
what's your
right.
thought on all this?
Well, you've now seen more than we've seen, but of course we're excited about the project. We haven't invested enough to be on the accelerator list, but we've invested what we can afford to invest, and we don't part with money easily. I think it's safe to say. I'm not saying we're cheap; we're just saying we're broke. So we're very careful with the small investments we do make. We wouldn't have done that, and it's not going to be perfect. But what I really like, is that Aptera is not going to put out a garbage vehicle to get a vehicle out. Like when Tesla started, the feedback on the original Model S was not good. The body panels didn't line up good, and the model, I can't remember what model it was, came out with really bad seats at first, needed a refresh. So they make a great car now, in my opinion, and I know you drive a Tesla now. They make a great car now, but they started by just flooding the market with electric cars, but they had a lot of issues. I think Aptera, from what I've seen, they're being a little more patient, a little more deliberate, and they don't want to put a car out that's going to give somebody a bad taste. And I really appreciate that as an investor and as someone who wants to drive it, of course. But I want that first model that hits the road to be as close to perfect as we humans can make something, which is not perfect. But the CDC, the CPC injection molded product, the carbon fiber molded product, all of these things lead to just a better fit and a better vehicle, in my humble opinion, guy that
With you.
doesn't know
I
much.
agree.
When Chris held the door up to the
Bink.
the bink, the piece that was, the piece that was the bursting piece,
Mhm.
it
Oh, the
it
display beak, yeah,
Yeah.
right, from
Yeah.
Italy, yeah.
fit so nicely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's something.
No sloppiness like the first Teslas.
Yeah. Sarah, what about you? Everybody else said theirs.
To me, I'm excited that there's so much activity right now. It's so busy. Like they don't have time to do a lot of tours. They're not just letting people walk in off the street and hanging out. They're busy. And that is exciting to me. And the fact that you couldn't see some things, because they're protecting their technology because they have something to protect and it's going forward. That's all forward motion to me, and I'm really excited about that.
And that's our technology. That's the
Yeah.
four of us. We own a piece of that technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're glad they're
invested in
protected.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights from your current visit to Aptera, and as being you're both brand ambassadors. We always appreciate hearing from you, and we know our channel viewers do as well.
Yes, and thank you, Helen, for representing us with your opportunity to get down to Aptera. We're so grateful for your willingness
We
to
just
do
love-
that.
You're like a ninja, Helen. You're like sneaky quick. You're like, oh, I'm just a nice lady. And then boom, you're in there, you're taking pictures of stuff you're not supposed to see. You're running around. I just got to find a bathroom, and you're going through the labs, and you're writing notes.
You're
of what you
crazy,
see on the
Jack.
Cruising off in Gamma by yourself.
you're on one of their skateboards, you're running, you're skateboarding through the factory.
We just
You're
love
on.
lightning, and we just love you guys.
Oh, well, we appreciate you
We
both very,
appreciate
very
you
much.
Very
Yeah.
much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We thank you to the Mug Club, you mugs by mugs, so these mugs can get back to California. Then we don't have to send correspondence. We can do it ourselves. Thank you so much for investing in us. If you want to buy our new mug design, you can do that by going to drivenbysolar.com. Drivenbysolar.com. That's the website where we sell our merch. And our newest mug was already bought once from New Mexico, our friend Bob Newchow. Bob, thank you for investing in that. And thank you. We just heard that your newest book came out. If you want to buy Bob's book, go to Amazon and search Bob Newchow, Nuchow, and you will come across all of his books. We have read almost all of them. Of course, not this newest one yet because it just came out. Thank you to the members of the channel. You keep the wheels rolling on the Positively Charged EV channel. Without you, there is no me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you. One of those members, Norman, in the past sent us this beautiful charcuterie board. He's a master wood craftsman, in my opinion. And we love that. And then just the other day, as a surprise, in the mail showed up coasters that he made where it actually shows the outline of the Aptera and it says Drive the Lightning. Thank you, Norm. We really, really, really appreciate the work that you do, and we cherish these things. We don't know why you're so kind to us, but we certainly do appreciate you. That's it for this week. Everybody have a great whatever day it is when you're watching or listening.